Thank you very much. The road to practicing medicine was not a straight one for me. It just wavered. But when I was a senior in high school in the 1940s, and I had a male advisor who said, "Nancy, have you thought about being a doctor?" And I said, "No. My older sister Jane's going to be a doctor. She's going to be a doctor in India." And so, no, I wasn't interested in doing that. But I think back now on who it wasn't thought of that women could be doctors, and I had a man advisor tell me that I should think about being a doctor, and I think that probably put me on the way. So I went to school at the University of Washington in Seattle, and graduated from there, and then decided to go to, I didn't want to go to the male medical schools because they didn't want women in the class, and if you did get admitted, they did anything they could think of to get rid of you. They would lose papers, they would tell terrible jokes, all that sort of thing. So I went to Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, which was 100 years old when I went there. And I figured they knew how to do it, and they really did. I have to thank them for the excellent education that they gave us, because they knew that because we were women, we would be looked down upon, and people would think we were no good, and why should we, all of those things. And so they did everything in their power to give us a superior education, one which I could not have done what I did in the Aleutians or in Anchorage in obstetrics, and that no other family practitioner got the same kind of education that I got from Women's Med, and I've always been grateful to them for that. And so when I finally finished medical school and my high school, I always wanted to come up here because when I was in high school, all the boys got to go to Alaska and go fishing. They came home with these wonderful stories. And I said, "I'm going to Alaska." And they said, "You can't, you're a girl." And so, but I was in my senior year of medical school, I think, and my high school boyfriend, who was back from the Marine Corps, got a job in Bellingham, but they transferred him to Alaska, and he suddenly became very attractive. And so we got married the year before I finished med school, and then I interned at Virginia Mason in Seattle, which was another very fortunate choice because all of our referrals from Anchorage, there were so few doctors and specialists in town, they were often referred to Virginia Mason, and I knew all of the doctors there, so that was very helpful. And then I was going to start a private practice here, and Howard Romig came out. And I have to thank Helen Whaley and Betsy Tower for letting the village know, it was a village, that women physicians could be very good. And so Howard Romig came out and said, "Why don't you come work for me?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to start my own practice." He said, "But we have a need for you, come down and try it." And so I said, "Okay." And the office where we worked is still at the corner of 4th and L Street, the White House that's on that side of the street, and it was wonderful. We had a very good group, and Howard wanted me to do all of the labor and delivery, so I got started in obstetrics, and then I also had to do the scrubbing with the surgeons, so I got a lot of surgical experience too. It was very delightful years. And one of the wonderful things about doing all the obstetrics in those years was that I still see people today whom I helped with deliveries years and years ago. I can go to the grocery store and they say, "Oh, Dr. Sydnam, let me show you the pictures of the kids that you delivered." and tonight, so, you never know where you're going to go and someone tells you about that. And it fills my heart because it was such a pleasure to me to be able to do something like that. And everything was fine until, when was it? Oh, it's I practiced until, I don't know, the late 1980s, early 1990s, and all the medicine changed. Instead of having, if people didn't have money when we worked at Anchorage Medical and Surgical Clinic, they paid. I had a woman who paid me with eggs, and that was fine. We didn't fill out any forms. Nobody in Washington, D.C. told us how long our patients could stay in the hospital, what tests we could do on them, and it drove me crazy. And so about that time, I decided to quit my practice, and they also wanted a physician to work supervising 2 PAs in the emergency room in Dutch Harbor. And I thought, that sounds pretty interesting. And so you went on intermittent, you'd go for 2 weeks and then come back. So I continued my practice for a while I worked 2 weeks, and I loved the Aleutians. It was delightful and very interesting, needless to say. And then when they also wanted me to set up a protocol for their obstetrical patients, because it cost $1,000 just to come to Anchorage. So these poor women who were pregnant would arrive in Anchorage, and nobody had any laboratory work. They didn't have any of the other studies that we ordinarily did for taking care of pregnant women. And so I took 2 years setting up a protocol and making sure all the forms were the same as they were in Anchorage. And after I did that, the OB rate in Dutch Harbor multiplied very rapidly. And so after that, I said, how about having a mastectomy special advertised over and I said, men are responsible for pregnancy too, and I think that's only fair. And the elbow room was downtown, and that's where all the guys would go. And so I was sure they were all sitting there shooting dice to see who had to be the first patient. And finally, this one poor guy came in, and I talked to him, and it all went well. And after he healed, then I did 4 or 5 more after that. So, so that was good. So that was a good time. And then I'm fun on this thing. But then after I set up the OB program, then they said that's fine. We don't need you here anymore. And but then they needed somebody. APIA, Aleutian Pribilof Island Association, called me up and said, would you be interested in going to some of the other Aleutian villages? And I said, yes, I certainly would. And as an intermittent, itinerant physician, so they'd call me up and say, can you go to St. Paul for 2 weeks or 2 months or however many that was? And so I had closed my office so that I could easily do that. And it was a great joy. It was an introduction. See, when I was just in Dutch Harbor, mostly I saw fishing industries, so I didn't see the native population that I was going to see when I went to the rest of APIA islands. And that was a wonderful experience to me. I found they were universally very accepting of me. They treated me like, they'd even say, they say, you want to go berry picking with us? Well, to be invited berry picking is a really great honor as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I liked learning of the old Elliott ways and listening to the language. I was in I forget one of the villages. Anyway, it doesn't make any difference which one. But anyway, they said I was in the office. They said, "Doctor, come quick! You must come real quick!" And I said, I tried to grab my bag so I could take care of the emergencies. And they said, threw me on the back of a 4-wheeler. We went tearing down the road, and then we came to the reindeer. And they said, "Look, the reindeer are here. They're here to offer themselves to us." And so it was that sort of thing that just filled my heart again and again. And it was a great honor and privilege of me to serve them for as long as I did. I worked until I was 81, and then I decided it was too dangerous, and I might make a mistake. And so I had to let my license expire so I wouldn't give in to the end to go back out there. But it was a great pleasure, and I was very glad and pleased that I was selected for this. It's a very great honor. And my son is here, and my sister is here, way over there, and my grandson. And I'm hooked to this. I'm hooked on there. I don't want to break it. I'm tied up.
Here, put it in your hand and
We'll do it later. Thank you very much.